Oh, it's a pump. Hi, I'm John and welcome to Cycling on a Shoestring, and today we're going to look at an unusual looking pump. And it definitely is unusual. And where did I come across this pump? I'll tell you about that in a second, but first off, it's from a company called Crotal, Crotal, and you can go to their website at crotalgear.com. I was on Facebook one day. I don't have my own Facebook account, but my wife does, and I use it on my devices for Marketplace if I'm buying or selling something. And I happened to see this pop up on Facebook one day. I reached out to Crotal, asked if I could review one. They sent this to me for free, but that will have no bearing on this review. I'm going to give you my honest opinion on this pump. Now, how much does it cost to start off? It's not terribly inexpensive, but it is kind of cool because you can charge this up and take it with you if you're pumping up tires. $113 Canadian if you want to buy this. Now let me flip the camera down real quick. We'll show you what's in the box. Then we'll test this thing out and pump up a tire here on Cycling on a Shoestring. So this is what comes in the box. You get the pump, a little bag to put all of this stuff in, the little hose. You get an inflator for balls, another inflator maybe for pool stuff, instructions, a USB-C cable, and it all comes in this little box right here. A little bit more about this pump. Crotal claims it will pump up 10 700 by 23C tires before you have to recharge it. I think it took between an hour and a half for me to charge this thing up. It'll also do Presta and Schrader valves, and it's got a setting on it, which I'm going to show you in just a second. You can set it to a specific pressure, and then it will only pump up to that before it shuts off. So let me show you how that works, and then we'll pump up a tire. I'm hoping you can see this all right. I'm kind of shooting this over my shoulder. I wanted to show you how it worked. Okay, you've got a button up here. This is your power button. You hold it in for a couple of seconds and it will flash and come on. So there you go. Now at the top, you've got different ways of pumping up your tire. So if you hold this button in, it's at PSI now. It goes to bar. It goes to KPA, kilopascals, pretty sure. And then it goes over to kilograms per centimeter squared. I have no idea what that is. I would never use it. I always use PSI. Now you've got different settings on this bike. If we hit the button here, we go to 40 PSI, but this is a setting so you can pump up to any pressure you want. If you hit the button again, it goes to this little symbol down here at 40 PSI. It looks like maybe an electric bike or a moped tire, but it's a pre-programmed at 40. You can change it from 40 to any pressure you want. It's got a pre-program for what looks like a mountain bike at 50 PSI, which I would never do. And then you've got the road bike symbol here at 100 PSI. Now, if you want to change it from 100, this button is your up and down button here. If you hit it, you can go up. If you double hit the set button, you can go in the opposite direction and you can set it down to what I usually have my tires at, 90 PSI, and it will stop once it gets to 90 PSI. What I want to do now is test it out. Let's pump up a tire. So I'm here on my table right now. I'm going to pump this up and I'm going to set it for 90 PSI. There you go. I did this on the floor earlier just to let you know, and I find that it's much harder to pump up Schraders because the Presta seems to stay on the valve a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it up. It's quite loud to start, and then I'm going to cut to the end so you don't have to watch the thing pump up for a minute and a half or whatever it takes. I'm going to put the timer on it as well. Hopefully you can see that. So let's give it a try and see how it works. So there you go. It took 1 minute 54 seconds to pump it up to 90 PSI. Now, just by standing here for 1 minute and 54 seconds, it would definitely benefit from a longer hose, but there's no way they could fit it in the box. I wanted to jump in real quick. It's the next day, the day after me pumping up that tire you just saw, and I was thinking overnight, am I giving this pump a fair shake? Will it work hands-free? Because that's the way it's going to be helpful to me
and helpful to you. I don't want to have to stand there and hold that thing to pump up a tire for 2 minutes. It'd be easier doing it another way. So this morning I ran through a number of inflations right here on the floor, and I shot this video just to see if it will work hands-free.
I just wanted to stop it here because until I moved it up again, it had stopped pumping the tire at about 81, 82 PSI. And when I picked it up again, because I straightened out the nozzle on the valve there, it started filling up again. So I've had kind of a hit and miss with this. I wanted to give this a fair shake, and sometimes it'll fill up if you just leave it like this. Other times it won't. I've had it stall out at around 70 PSI as well. So that's kind of the situation you might have if you're trying to pump your tire and not holding on to the nozzle on the valve. And I've actually laid the wheel down as well, and the same thing happens.
Now, again, I used this a few times before this demonstration, and I ran into a problem with the hose. Not necessarily the hose, but the instructions. So let me show you that right now. So here is the hose and the key to changing whether you want to pump a Presta or a Schrader valve. And this is where I found this instruction booklet lacking. It's pretty poorly written, and it leaves out a key part of using this pump. And hopefully I can make this quick because I don't want it to take too long. So right now what it is, it's set up for a Schrader. And right now, as you can see, this is all a big black piece here. Now in order to set it up for a Presta, I screw this like this and I pull it out. Okay? So it should pump properly for a Schrader valve when it's in like this, and that's what's described in the instructions. But that's not what I saw when I went out to my garage and tried to pump it up. It couldn't get much above 30 PSI, and I was trying to pump it to 40. So I thought, why don't I try it like this, how it describes to pump a Presta valve, and this worked better for a Schrader valve. Now let me look at this little red tip, and hopefully we can see this. I might have to cut away because it's hard to get this little piece out. But this is a number of different pieces. It's very small. I hope I've got a good focus on this. I don't have a macro. I can't get any larger than this. But here is the tip that's screwed on to the end of the hose. Now you screw this off right here, and inside there's this little black piece right here. See this? Now I'll hold it up like this so you can see it. It's got a little nib on this end, and it's flat on this end. Now, if you want to pump up a Schrader, you put it in like this, all right? If you want to pump up a Presta, you put that little thing in there, and it goes in like this. But they don't mention the little rubber ring in this piece right here. Now, if you've ever had pumps, some pumps you have to flip around a little piece of rubber in order to set it up for Schrader or Presta. When I got it, it was set up for Schrader, but it wasn't in the instruction booklet that I needed to turn that around to get the other side out so that I could pump up a Presta valve. When it was like this, couldn't get it above 70 PSI. When I flipped it around, I was able to pump it up to 90, and it would have gone farther if I had tried. But this isn't mentioned. See that little rubber ring in there? It wasn't even mentioned in the instruction booklet, and that's kind of important. And I read the booklet a number of times, and I actually went and asked my wife, am I missing something here? Because they don't mention this, and they don't even show this in the little pictures they have in the instruction booklet. So that's what you're going to have to do, is properly set that up so that it'll work for your Schrader or your Presta. Now, I don't have a lot of Schraders on my bikes anymore, so I'd probably just leave it on Presta, but they need to change the instruction booklet to get this right. I wanted to take a bit of time at the end of this review to answer the following question. If you're really into cycling, is this a practical pump for you? I can answer the question. I'm really into cycling, and no, this is not a practical pump for me. It just doesn't work for me. First off, it's a little difficult for me to use. I find it to be a pain, and I mean that literally. Got a bad back, and when I'm pumping up the tires on my bike, it's generally sitting on the floor, and it hurts to hold this on to the valve and basically pump up the tires on my bike. So I don't like it from that standpoint. Also, it's pretty darn heavy. Now, this will fit in the saddlebag I've got right now. Here's a photo of it, but it weighs 280 grams. Here's a photo and a couple more photos with some other pumps I have. A little carbon fiber one, 59 grams, and a little aluminum one that only weighs 68 grams. I've reviewed both of those pumps. I'll put the link in the description. So this really doesn't work for me from a practical standpoint as a cyclist. Now, if you're a weekend warrior, occasionally pumping up a tire, this will work just fine for you. Also, a few things that could have been designed a little bit better. I think I've described how you change it from Presta to Schrader, a little bit finicky, really a problem with the instructions for this. But basically, when you want to use this, you want to use it like this, like it's a gun. It works better like this, but that puts the display upside down. Really nitpicky, I know, but from a design standpoint, it would be better the other way. Also, instead of having this on it, this pump would really benefit from something like this, and you've probably seen one of these before. You put it on the valve, you push this down, it locks on, and you pump it up. It'd be great if this was on that little pump, and then you could just set it and forget it, and you don't have to lean over and hold the hose on your valve. But a little hard to fit this and everything else into this tiny little box. So that's just something to think about. Now, from a standpoint of what you need if you want to pump your tires, how about something like this? The old-fashioned way, a good old floor pump. I can lock this on. It's got the same type of thing as I just showed you, and I can stand up and pump it, and it's not a pain in my back. Now, if you are looking for something like a mini compressor, I've done a review on my channel of this. And this is the Oaser little tiny compressor pump. Fantastic little pump. Link in the description to the review. And this will pump up anything. It's great for bike tires. And I actually had my neighbor come over last year. He had a flat tire in his car, filled it up easily with this thing. And it also has another one of these that you can plug right into your car. It's got a long cable on it, and you can use your car as a power source. But this is a rechargeable battery. So if you're looking for something, this might be the thing for you that you can use out in your garage or in your shop. Anyhow, I hope this was helpful. Again, I don't think this is practical if you're really into cycling. Thanks to Crotal for sending it to me. If you liked the video, if it was helpful, please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel as well. Hit the bell for notifications as we approach 2,000 subscribers. See you again soon on Cycling on a Shoestring.